So, this is Brian Smith, Tri-County East Officials Association. Just from a scheduling perspective, I know that quite a few of the officials that I have in our association, there have been over 20 individuals who have decided to opt out. That's over 10% of our officials from a football perspective. I've also had an athletic director who had a game forfeited last week because the opponent did not have enough numbers. That athletic director called me during yesterday's Lions debacle and said, "Hey, we found an opponent. Can we play Friday night at 7:00? We were originally on the road. Now we want to play at home. And, we may or may not have had enough officials." And I told him, listen, we can't play at 7:00 Friday night, but we can play Saturday at 1:00. So fortunately, he was gracious enough to move his game to Saturday at 1:00. I guess the point I'm trying to make is, with all of the changes from a schedule perspective, and with all of the officials who have decided to opt out, at least of the beginning of the season, please make sure that your arbiter calendars are up to date. And please make sure that if you wish to not officiate, that you go into your arbiter calendar and block everything. Block all the dates if you wish not to officiate. Otherwise, as an assigner, I look at a screen and I say, oh, I've got a game at such and such location. This person shows that they're available. They show that they're within a certain number of miles, and I'm going to assign that individual to the game, not knowing whether or not they can or want to officiate. So please make sure that your arbiter calendars are up to date, because I'm sure Bob can tell you, Bob Check that is, that he's had a number of changes and we're all just kind of scrambling, trying to cover the assignments this season. And I don't know if Bob Check, if you wanted to say a few words about anything that's happening in your league.
Okay, I promise to be real brief. Can you hear me, Brian?
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, I just echo everything Brian said. Just keep your arbiter up to date. It's going to be a challenging fall. We'll do the best we can. There were some crews that a couple guys came off, so I put floaters on. So those crews that work with some guys that they don't normally work with, I would respectfully ask that you just do your best to try to get along with them, do your mechanics the best you can, and just try to make things the best you can. Tough situation. I will say this. I worked very hard 4 years ago to get the Lakes Valley and the KLA to 7-man crews and 5-man crews for freshman JVs. I do not want to go backwards, okay? So I want all my games to be 7-man. If we have to use a guy who's kind of new or something, that's fine. Work with him, train him, mentor him, do whatever you got to do. Just make sure he's engaged. Because once these guys, if we go back to 5 and they see it, they're not going to want to go back to 7 next year. And I don't know about you. I'm 64 years old. Most of my guys on my crew are old. We don't want to work 5-man anymore. So we got to work. We got to stay with this. So let's do the best we can to stay with it. Another thing, Brian, I don't know if you know this. You're probably going to go over it. Most of these schools with these games, if these ADs say they're going to lose money, so a lot of them aren't even going to charge at the gate. And there's going to be hardly anybody there for the most part, except for 2 people for each player. So, and there's no concessions. So you're going to have to bring your own water, I guess. Brian, you're going to probably go over that, right? But just do the best.
Yeah, definitely.
So we'll just do the best we can and talk to the AD, a couple days before you get there. And then just do the best you can, guys. That's all I can tell you. And we'll make it work somehow, some way. And that's all I have to say as of right now. Thanks for all your help.
Thanks. Is Gary Wagenschutz on today's presentation or no?
I am, Brian.
Gary, did you want to say a few words?
You guys pretty much nailed everything you and Bob did, but just for everybody, this whole season is going to be a change after a change after a change until we get through week 9. So, just what we're talking about today isn't just, okay, well, I set my arbiter up for today. It's going to be like basketball, baseball, softball, everything else. Keep doing it. Keep it updated. Everybody, get in your rotations to keep your calendar updated on arbiter. That's the best thing we're going to be able to do. Because I don't know about Bob, and I'm sure Bob and Brian are going to be in the same boat. We are going to get a phone call at 3 o'clock sooner or later from an official or multiple officials that say, I can't work tonight for whatever reason. We are not going to be able to scramble around and make 100 phone calls to find replacements. So I don't know, Bob, you and Brian, you didn't bring up middle school. I am getting notified bits and pieces. Some middle schools are going to play. Some middle schools aren't going to play. I have not done anything with middle school yet just because I'm trying to figure out who's going to do what. But that's actually 2 weeks from now when that should start. So if you're interested, keep your calendars updated. If you're a new official and you want to break in and get some work, let us know. But, I mean, that's all I got, guys. You can go on with your presentation, but just weird year.
Thanks, Gary. Bob Foss, did you want me to go through the clarifications from our last meeting?
Yeah, let's do that.
All right. Okay. Let's see here. Present now.
Actually, Brian, go ahead. You're fine.
Yep. Let me know that I'm presenting.
You are.
Okay. Just very quickly, some clarifications from last week. And I know that Bob touched on the fact that the concession stands would not be open in many places. So make sure that each official is bringing their own water, any food that they might want to eat at halftime or what have you, because we just don't know whether or not the concession stands will open, and we don't know whether or not there will be anything for us from an administrative perspective, other than a school host there to show us to where we're supposed to park, et cetera. Just wanted to make sure that everyone's aware. This year, the team box has been expanded to the 10-yard line. The coaches need to stay within the 25-yard lines. The coaches box has not been expanded except in the Lakes Valley Conference. The coaches may go to the 20-yard lines if they have players in the 25 to 10-yard line area. And the reason for that is to keep an eye on those players and to make sure that they're not violating any social distancing rules or making any trouble for the officials or for each other. So in the Lakes Valley Conference, the coaches may also go beyond the 25-yard line. They may go down to the 20. In all other conferences, the coaches box has not been expanded. Only the players may go to the 10-yard lines. So again, if we have a player who's at the goal line watching his teammate try to score a touchdown, they are in a spot where they should not be. So we need to make sure that they are back at the 10-yard line, between the 10-yard lines. Second point that I wanted to make was we talked about not touching players when they're in a pile or at any time. So we talked about using our voice, using the whistle, and not contacting the players. So to effectively do that, we need to tell specific players to remove themselves, generally by telling them, green 27, you're out of the pile, or blue 52, get out of the pile. or something to that effect. Something to get a specific player to understand that you've identified that player needing to get off of the pile in order for us to get down to the bottom and make sure that, whomever has a fumble, let's say, is actually the team that rightfully deserves that ball. So use the team jersey colors and team names, as well as numbers to voice which players must exit the pile. And then third, just in regards to the facial coverings, if a facial covering inside the helmet is grasped, we would treat that the same as a face mask foul, whether it's incidental contact, and that's a 5-yard penalty, or if it's a personal foul, which is a 15-yard penalty. Similarly, if a facial covering is grasped at the neck, so let's say it's a neck gaiter that goes over your nose and mouth. If the facial covering is grasped outside of the face mask, below the face mask, at the neck or at the nameplate area, we would treat that the same as a horse collar foul if that player is brought to the ground. So those are some clarifications that I wanted to share with the group before Bob Foss goes through the rules presentation today.
Sounds good. Also want to touch on one other thing before we get to the rules with regard to postseason assignments. You want to make sure that you go into your MHSAA and select your dates. Let me try to get there also, see if I can find that here. Can you see this checklist?
Yes.
I present that? I want to show you one other screen. Let's try this. Well, everybody knows how to find your MHSA, right?
Oh, yeah.
Just in case. So you're going to be able to give the state your schedule right here. And then your crew will turn in, not that, your crew will turn in, called crew assignment, that's not it, rules meetings, where is it? Now I lost it. You're gonna.
Availability and conflicts, Bob?
No. It's the tournament invitations rule. Football position. Man, I just had it. I'm sorry, guys. That's not it. Schedule. That's not it. Well, I'm going to have to find it another time because I know it was there, but now I lost it.
Are you looking for the schedule, under schedule?
Well, that's where each individual should list their schedule, but the crew should have their entire crew listed as who's available and what positions they're working. And I had it, and now I can't find it. Oh well, let's get this in here. All right, we'll go back to Linda Miggs, website.
Bob, it's on the football sports specific page, the crew postseason consideration form. It includes the following items. It includes the contact person and crew chief. It includes your preferred zone. It includes the 5 positions, names of each official, MHSA ID, and the city. Contact person signature and the date. And that's all it includes. It no longer includes an entire schedule for the crew.
But each individual needs to list you need to give the state your schedule here. Am I still presenting this here?
It's on officials. Go to officials at the top. Then sport-specific content on the left bar.
Yeah.
Then football. And down at the bottom, let's see, keep going down. There it is. Crew postseason consideration form.
Oh, that's a one-time deal by the crew, right? That's not an individual submission.
Right. That's each crew should submit that form.
Right.
Each individual should submit their
individual schedules.
their individual schedules under official services and schedule. Right? Can you see this on my? Are you seeing this on my screen?
Yep.
Okay. So right there, each individual should be listing their schedule here, and each crew should have this. Can you see this form?
Yep.
Okay. Each crew should be filling out, one per crew, but every individual should fill out their schedule individually also on the MHSA website under official services. Got it. Okay. Take that one for later.
If only a portion of your crew is available, is it necessary to fill out the crew postseason report if you don't have a full eligible crew?
Well, I don't know the answer to that.
The answer is that if you have 4 officials who will be available, then you should fill it out because they will take 4 officials in one group. If you have 3 or fewer, then it would not be enough for a crew, and each of those officials would be considered separately.
Can you see this 2019 football rules on my screen?
No.
No? Okay. Let's get that fixed. Let's just do it this way. How about now?
Yep.
All right. So we'll recap what changed last year and then move on to the new rules for 2020. We'll skip through the videos allowed for postseason. Numbers on the jerseys doesn't matter to us right now. The legal scrimmage formation is still relevant, and this rule has changed last year and it's still in existence for this year. Legal scrimmage formation requires at least 5 offensive players on their line of scrimmage and no more than 4 players in the backfield. We can still have a legal formation with as few as 6 players on the team on the offense. 5 players on the line and 1 back. What we can't have is more than 4 players in the backfield. As long as we have 5 on the line and say,
It's got to meet the numbering requirements too, right?
I'm sorry, Jack?
They got to meet the numbering requirements. They got
Still have
five,
to, yep, still have to be numbered. Correct.
Okay.
So we could have 10 players with 6 on the line and 4 in the backfield, and we still have a legal formation.
Yeah, as long as we have the numbers.
As long as they have numbers 50 through 79. And if you happen to see any of the huddle videos that I sent out, there's in particular a few scrimmage kicks where we have some illegal numbering in that there are only 4 players numbered 50 through 79, and they were not in scrimmage kick formation. That rule pretty much brings it, the high school rule comes in line with the NCAA rule there. The 40-second play clock was instituted last year. There were some changes this year to that rule. We'll get to that in a minute. But after most offensive plays, the play clock will be set to 40 seconds, and we're going to wind it relatively quickly, but not immediately. We're not trying to find opportunities to create delay of game fouls just because we changed to a 40-second clock from a 25-second clock. There's still a bit of a delay between the time that the 40-second play clock will start after the end of the previous play. The 40-second play clock can be running without the game clock running. Oop, sorry, going too fast here. Again, after an incomplete pass, if there's some delay, the incomplete pass is one situation, but if there is any delay in making the ball ready for play, and we may get that more so this year than in years past, if officials are not touching the footballs. So if the offensive player, is a little bit slow in picking up that incomplete pass that's downfield, or if the defense has the ball at the end of the play and there's some delay in getting the ball back to the snapper, it's okay for referees to go ahead and we can stop the clock, the play clock, and just reset it to 25 and keep it running. If there's not a visible play clock on the field, back judge has to be, let's call him the right-hand man to the referee. You have to be paying attention to each other. Make eye contact. If you're using the O2Os, you can talk to each other and just make sure that you know that you're going to reset the clock to 25. Make sure that the coaches know that we're resetting it to 25 so that they're not in a race when they don't have to be. If there's that, I'm referring to when there's no visible play clock. Here's a quick rundown of different situations where we're going to have a 25-second play clock and how we're going to signal. There is a change this year in particular to helmet coming off of a defensive player or an injury to a defensive player. We'll get to that in a minute. Tripping the runner became a foul last year. So it's now a foul to intentionally use the lower leg or foot to obstruct the runner below the knees. We can still trip them by hand, but you can't use that soccer tackle. So actually it's a foul to trip any player. Illegally kicking and batting the ball was changed from 15 to 10 yards, and it must be an intentional act. if you accidentally kick the ball or, in an effort to pick it up, you're unintentionally batting the ball, it's just a muff. It's not a foul. Horse collar tackle was also brought into line with the NCAA rule in that if you grab the nameplate area, not just the inside back of the jersey or shoulder pads, but the nameplate area. We're looking for something above the numbers, and we're also looking for the runner's knees to buckle. If you just stop a runner by pulling him, but he's not really buckling or going down, of course the runner has to be tackled because of that, then it's not going to be a foul. Good there? Any questions on last year's stuff?
All set.
Okay. Shoot. Didn't mean to click that, sorry. All right, you can see the 2020 new rules on your screen. Anybody?
Yep.
You got it.
All right. There's really not much of a significant change, in my opinion, to the rules this year. This one is, in my opinion, a long time coming. But the quarterback or the person who receives the snap can now spike the ball from a shotgun instead of having to take the snap as a hand-to-hand snap. We can spike the ball from a shotgun. Still has to be immediate, and the ball can't have touched the ground. So as soon as the person who receives the snap controls it, they can spike it. Disconcerting acts by the defense was changed from unsportsmanlike conduct penalty to a simple 5-yard penalty. Simple. Now here's where the change to actually two changes really to the 40-second play clock. So following any legal kick, when either team is awarded a new series, whether it's the kicking team or the receiving team, we're going to be setting that clock to 25 seconds. Hey, the old rule, sometimes it's 40, sometimes it was 25. I'm sure you heard from coaches, that's not the way they did it last week. This year it's treated as any administrative stoppage, and we're going to set the clock to 25 seconds after any legal kick, including kickoffs. And after the helmet comes off of a defensive player, or if there's an injury to a defensive player, we're going to be setting the play clock to 40 seconds. I thought there might be a question there. That's why I'm kind of pausing. No?
Well,
That's whether the game clock was running or was dead at the time that the defensive injury occurred, correct?
Yes.
and it could mean that the offensive team doesn't necessarily even have to snap the ball if this occurred late in the game or late in the period. They could just let the thing run out. So just have to be aware of that as well.
Yes, correct. And everybody on our crews need to know this so that they can communicate that to the coaches. This isn't just the referee or the back judge who need to know that the play clock's going to be set to 40 seconds. Your linesman, line judge, field judge, side judge need to be able to communicate this to the coach if it's going to happen. In particular, at the end of a game where a coach might be inclined to not snap if he has that option.
And this is not one of those under 2-minute situations either. So anytime during the game this happens. That's what
Correct.
happens.
Yep. I'm not sure the reason for this rule. You made the slide here, though, Jack. So prior to the game, the head coach can notify the referee that there's a designated representative, either a different coach or a player, who can make decisions regarding penalty acceptance or declination. Now, for all practical purposes, I'm going to try to find the head coach if there's a penalty that needs his decision. If he's not available and he's told us before the game that somebody else can make that decision, then I'll look for that person instead. But if they're doing something that I think doesn't make sense, I will find the head coach. I'd be shocked if any coach designates a player, but this is where Jack has some interesting points that we can get to later.
Yeah. They're interesting, but they're not worth the spending a lot of time in this meeting on them either. It's me being crazy.
And that's really the extent of the changes for this year. 40-second play clock and the quarterback being able to spike the ball, and then the change in the penalty for disconcerting acts. Although I can't recall the last time that I had a penalty for disconcerting acts against the defense.
That's for sure.
There it is.
There's a weather thing too, isn't there, Bob? We have a extended halftime, or we can shorten the halftime.
Oh, yeah. If we talked about that Friday. If there is a delay in the second quarter that's longer than a half hour, I forget what the time it is now, Jack. Is it the last?
Well, if there's a delay of at least 30 minutes, it says if the game is interrupted due to the weather during the last 3 minutes of the second period and the delay is at least 30 minutes, the coaches and referee can mutually agree to shorten the halftime intermission, provided there is at least a 1 minute intermission for getting loose, I guess. Oh, then there's still a 3 minute warm up required. So you can just make the halftime 1 minute plus 3.
Right.
And then there's an eligible receiver thing here. What's that too? They don't have to be in contact with the opponents to enter the expanded neutral zone. They deleted that portion of 7.5.12.
Well, that one's news to me, Jack. Clarify, because I didn't know that there was a difference in the ineligible player downfield rule.
Well, in this instance, I guess, when you would drive a guy off the line of scrimmage, I guess if you drive him, if you keep contact with him beyond the expanded neutral zone, would we in the past throw an eligible downfield or not?
if an offensive player is more than 2 yards, clearly more than 2 yards. So let's say,
And driving his opponent down backwards, right?
if he's at 3 yards or more, he would still be an ineligible receiver downfield by rule, right?
Well, kind of not. I'm going to read 7:12. Hang on a second.
Okay.
Okay, let's see. Ineligible A players may not advance beyond the expanded neutral zone on a legal forward pass play before a legal pass that crosses the neutral zone is in flight. If B touches the pass in or behind the neutral zone, this is terminated. Now, they said that there was and I do have last year's rule book. It's probably a distinction without a difference, but what can I tell you? Last year it said there was last year it said an ineligible is not illegally downfield if at the snap he immediately contacts the B lineman and the contact does not continue beyond the expanded neutral zone. So they're saying that if you continue to drive the guy initially off the line of scrimmage and you're more than 2 yards down the field, it's not a foul.
But yeah, it's still I think you're right there, Jack. It's just would you say difference without
distinction without a difference.
And that's last year or this year that it's the same, that an offensive lineman can't go there. For an offensive lineman to be ineligibly downfield, he has to clearly be beyond the expanded neutral zone. Whether or not he's in contact with another player is irrelevant.
Yeah, that was last year.
Last year, an offensive lineman could not go beyond the expanded neutral zone. And this year, an offensive lineman has to clearly be beyond the expanded neutral zone. Change the wording, but they didn't change the rule.
Well, I don't know about that, but let me just find a casebook play here.
Yeah, philosophically, we're going to need an offensive lineman to be at least 3 yards at the time of the pass.
But the way I read it is that if he's beyond 3 yards and he's still driving the guy, it's not a foul.
Well, here's a case that kind of goes along with it. 7-5-12 situation B. Before A1 throws a pass beyond the neutral zone, A2 contacts lineman B1 on his line and drives him back 4 yards. Ruling offensive pass interference by A2 because he was driven B1 beyond the expanded neutral zone.
Offensive pass interference is what the casebook says?
That's correct. That's on page 68, 7-5-12B.
I see Brian Smith smirking a little bit.
We're being too technical.
Yeah, hell yes. I wouldn't call that pass.
Well, I guess the question is if that contact is constant from the line, are we not?
That particular casebook play flies in the face of what the new rule said, because they took out the part about being.
Yeah, let's decide because I want us to do all the same thing when that because some of those linemen they get a good block going, they just go with it. And are we digging him if he remains in contact or not?
Dave, is it referring to B1 or A2 and B1 as receiver and defensive back in that case, or
A1's a quarterback.
Okay. So if you have a receiver and a defensive back making that contact, pass interference makes sense.
Okay, so that's out on the line then. That's not it. That's not inside.
If we're talking about linemen, hold on a second. If we're talking about linemen, as long as the lineman is not beyond the expanded neutral zone, either prior to the pass or at the time of as long as he's not beyond the expanded neutral zone before the pass is thrown, he's not ineligibly downfield. And we want the offensive lineman to clearly be beyond the expanded neutral zone. So for all intents and purposes, we want that offensive lineman to be at least 3 yards beyond the expanded neutral zone before the pass is thrown, before we're going to have ineligible downfield. If he's at 2 yards or if he's 1 step beyond 2 yards, we can tell him to be careful. We don't need a flag for that.
I live with that.
Okay. But it's the same rule that's really the same rule as last year.
Let me see what Redding's is.
Bob, do we want to touch on any test questions from the football exam?
I have a few.
Go ahead.
Oops. I'm trying to. There's a full screen. Let's present entire screen and go back here. Where is it? Where is it? Where are you hiding on me? Where are you hiding on me?
While Bob's looking, how many of you guys called the runner for the receiver from the Bears down at the 2 yard line in real time yesterday?
Didn't watch the game that closely. Don't know.
So they brought in Mike Pereira, and he's like, well, this is a tough call, but whatever. I just was curious whether you guys thought it was a tough call or not.
Well, they call it a second act, where the player's knee goes down and then they reach. Very common at the goal line. And so we just have to train ourselves that we're looking knee ball when we're inside the 5 yard line. Because we know that they're stretching and they're reaching for the goal line. And so we know that generally speaking, their knees are going to be close. So we just have to see knee ball.
Yeah, I'm with you. I just didn't think it was that tough of a call is all. And Pereira is not my favorite, but I'm sorry to interrupt.
Well, all right. Couple of the exam questions that seem like there might be a little bit unusual. How about number 9? Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
All right. So, question number 9.
If you can make it bigger. Make it bigger, Bob.
Does that help?
Yeah.
I do that. Is that big enough?
Yeah.
Team K is attempting a field goal with 4th and 8 from the R20. K10 kicks the ball, which is blocked by R55 at the line of scrimmage. Ball rebounds back to the K10. Back to K10 at the R25, who then drop kicks the ball through the uprights. So
I'd love to see it.
Yeah, no kidding.
So
A drop kick, that's old school football, right?
I haven't seen a drop kick since I was in high school. That's a long time.
but the key distinction here is that a player can kick the ball twice if the ball remains behind the line of scrimmage.
No, you can
Even
throw
if they
it,
take
pass it, he can do whatever he wants.
But even if they take the ball downfield and then return behind the line of scrimmage, they can kick the ball as many times as they want, as long as they kick the ball from behind the line of scrimmage. On the other hand, you can only throw one forward pass in a down. So as long as you're behind the line of scrimmage, you can kick the ball as many times as you want, as long as it's a legal kick. However, if you throw one forward pass, you may only throw that one forward pass. You may not throw more than one forward pass. So that's the key distinction in question number 9.
That is correct.
How about number 12? Team K kicks off for the second half. R15 muffs the kick at the 10. The ball bounces forward to the R15 where it is muffed by K88 and propelled into Team R's end zone, recovered by K85.
It's a kick and it remains a kick until it ain't a kick. Ball was never possessed, so it remains a kick, right?
What are you doing?
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Touchback.
No, listen.
Everybody good with that?
I think most
Yes.
people may not know how to unmute themselves, but that's fine. All right, let's go to 24. A10 takes the snap at the A2 and is immediately under heavy in his own end zone. To avoid the sack, he intentionally grounds a forward pass. This is a safety, whether Team B accepts or declines the penalty. Of course, that is true also.
Why, if it's 4th down and the defense wants the ball, why could they not decline the foul and take the ball
Wouldn't
at
that
the
be nice?
A2?
Wouldn't that be nice? Because the run ended in the end zone, right? So and you have an illegal forward pass from the end zone where the run ended. So that's got to be the enforcement spot, no matter what. Can't decline that penalty because the run still ended in the end zone.
That doesn't seem clear enough. I mean, simply by what's it say that rule is? I just switched screen. 752. It's kind of nice that Brent has taken to telling us what rule to look for to find the answer.
Yeah.
So 752 or 753 says legal forward pass is a foul. Oh wait, I'm sorry. 852 is going to tell us what to do with it, right? Or is that safety?
Yeah, that's scoring. The issue here is that if the run ended in the end zone, and there, which it did, and he throws the pass. It's he intentionally grounds it, and so the spot of the foul, it's the enforcement spot, which is in the end zone, right? So that's part A. Plus the run, because the run ended when he threw the ball. That's that there's no other option. I'd love to be able to say you can take it back to the 4-yard line or wherever they snapped it from, and get the advantage. I've always asked that question myself, but until they change that rule and go back to the previous spot, then we're going to be screwed.
Well, but the
What would I do in the NCAA, Bob?
yeah, you have the option there. But in high school football, when an incomplete legal or illegal forward pass occurs, down counts. If the pass is legal, the passing team next snaps the ball at the previous spot. If the pass is illegal, they next snap at the spot of the pass by rule. So you decline an illegal forward pass. Let's say it happens in the middle of the field. If you're snapping from the 50-yard line and you throw an illegal forward pass from the 40, and they decline that penalty, the offense will next snap from the 40, not from the 50. By rule. If that pass happens in the end zone, it's a safety whether they accept or not, because they would next snap from the end zone. You can't do.
That's right.
So did you intentionally skip 13 and 16, Bob?
Mel, you want to talk about those?
Well, I thought those were the two most interesting questions.
Yeah, gave me some fits too.
Yeah, they got the answer.
First and 10 at the A30. B70 is flagged for roughing the passer. B25 intercepts the pass. On the return, he fumbles, and the ball is recovered and down by A40 at the A35.
So we got roughing the passer, and then we got an ABA, right?
Oh, you're correct.
Yeah. Okay. So roughing the passer, if there's a change of possession during the down, and you're roughing the passer, the enforcement spot is from the previous spot, right?
Yes.
And when you have ABA, we're going to start on the ready for play, right?
Yep.
So that's where it starts.
Well, that's the right answer. Well, don't forget, like I did.
Okay, go ahead, Bob. What?
So you said that's ready for play?
Ready for play.
Well, no, I'm sorry. The answer should be the clock will start on the snap.
The correct answer is that it will start on the ready for play.
Wait a minute.
Is it not?
Yes. Question 13.
Whoa. It would start on if it were a kick, it would start on the ready for play.
It is not kick.
It would start on the snap. But when you have a double change of possession and team A is next to snap the ball, which is what the situation is here, it starts on the ready for play with a 40-second play clock.
25-second play clock, but yes, it would start on the ready for play because team A will be next to snap the ball, and there was not a legal kick down included.
Correct. If it was a legal kick, then you'd start it on the snap, right? But because either team gets a automatic first down, gets the first down. But it says here in Reddings, in this instance, a double change of possession, which is what this is. The team A is going to snap the ball. The play clock is at 40 seconds. I think the theory is that, you got to change, get the offense back on the field and the defense back on the field, the kicking team off, whatever. So you give them some time to do that. It's not 25, it's 40. And what was the other one that was goofy, Bob? 16? Is that the one that had the typo?
They changed it online when you took the test.
Yeah, well, they changed it after I took it. And I had to tell them that that was not the right answer.
So the question here is 1st and 10 for Team A at the B12. Substitute B18 comes onto the field late, and B15 leaves through the back of the end zone prior to the ball being snapped. This is a dead ball foul for illegal substitution. Let me stop there. That answer is true. This is a dead ball foul for illegal substitution. So the PDF before you took the test, or rather the way the test is right now, says it will be first and
you got the original one right here. This is what it said originally.
Yes, I know.
Goal from the 7, but it's not first and goal. The series started on the 12, right?
Right.
All right. So you're going to go up 5 yards, and it's still going to be first down. It's going to be goal to go. It's going to be not goal to go. It's going to be first and 2 from the 7, right? Not first and goal.
It will be 1st and 5.
1st and 5
From the 7.
I got to get this 2. Yeah.
So the point of the question was so that we know that it's illegal to go out of the back of the end zone. The replaced player has to leave from his side of the field. You go out of the side of the end zone, you can't go out of the back of the end zone. That's the point of the question. They just worded the answer.
Yeah, he said it was a typo.
So so part of it's true, except the 7 is wrong, correct?
Well, they changed the question if you take the test now, and now it says that if you take the test now, it doesn't say first and goal, it says 1st and 5.
On the 7.
Okay. It makes it a true statement then.
Yeah.
Right.
So when I took it, and some of the rest of us, we answered we said this is false, but and he agreed, changed it.
They marked it wrong.
We got it marked wrong.
All right, let's get one last one. Question, the last question. During a free kick, bounding near the sideline and goal lines, R80 intentionally goes out of bounds on his own and then reaches back into the field of play and grabs the ball at the R3. Correct answer on that is that it's illegal participation.
Yes, sir. Even though it's B, it's normally absolved from being unintentionally out of bounds. But the fact that he intentionally went out of bounds and then reached back and touched the ball is a foul.
Any player who intentionally goes out of bounds cannot come back in bounds.
Intentionally.
Intentionally. Offensive players or kickers can't go out of bounds accidentally. They have to stay in bounds. But defensive players and receivers,
unless they're blacked out,
they only fall if they go out of bounds intentionally and influence the play. It's not a foul to go out of bounds.
No,
it's a foul to go out of bounds and come back in intentionally.
and the foul occurs when they actually return to the field. So they just go out of bounds intentionally and stay there. It's nothing.
or in this case, if you're out of bounds and intentionally touch the ball, you have fouled.
Yep.
If a receiving team player is out of bounds and the ball happens to hit him, he has not fouled. There has to be some intent. I think those are probably the only questions that were really unusual.
Did anybody else have any questions about the test questions? I guess not.
Does anyone have any questions about the COVID mechanic guidelines?
Yeah, the pre-coach meeting, the meeting in the pregame with the coach is going to take longer than the game.
Only for you, Jack.
That's right. It's going to be longer than the game.
But I tell you, I'm going to plan to be on the field a few minutes earlier to try to answer any of the coaches' questions about our crew not touching footballs.
Did they say anything about restrooms, though, Bob? You know, they're not going to give us a locker room, so what do we just go pee in the corner, or what's the story?
Well, there's still going to be some fans at the schools, so even though the concession stands may not be open, the restrooms will have to be open. We might not have our own secret spot like we have in the past, but
for us old guys, got to pee a lot. You know, we never know. Take a pee break.
Bring a cup.
Bring a cup to piss in. There you go.
check with your athletic directors. Hopefully everybody's already been in contact with them for this coming week. I know I sent my letter to both athletic directors because I wanted both coaches to know ahead of time that we are not touching footballs.
Are you going to meet with them separately or individually in terms of the COVID stuff, Bob? What do you think? You think it's a good idea to meet together and talk about expended sideline situations and all that kind of stuff?
I think the fewer people we have standing together to talk about anything, the more it looks like we are social distancing. So, no, I'm going to talk to the coaches separately. Just give them more time to ask questions if they have them.
Hey, Jack, can you hear me?
Yeah.
I talked to a couple ADs. They told me that what they're going to do, and this could vary, at halftime, they're going to put the teams in each end zone like we do Little League. And then they said, a couple ADs told me we can just go into the locker room where the players go and use the restroom. Now, that's going to vary from week to week, but that's what I was told. Brian, you got anything to add on that?
Anything, Brian?
Nothing on that specific point. I was going to say the Catholic League did send out a note regarding everyone on the field. In all cases, they were going to have all people wearing face masks or face shields, I believe, if I read that correctly, for anyone who's working a Catholic League assignment.
That they did.
But I do not have any other comments.
I don't have anything else either. Anybody else? Questions, concerns?
Just remind all the guys to have all their paperwork into the state no later than midnight, Thursday, September 17th, for playoff consideration.
All right, there we go, guys. Have a great game this week.
Thanks, Bob.
Thanks, guys.
Enjoy.
Thank you.
Night.